Kia ora.
Welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. Everything you need to know about moving to and living in New Zealand.
There's a whole world here.
So nice to be with you again.
We call it Aotearoa around here, bro.
You'll be right.
We are your hosts, Liz and Brian.
Amazing New Zealand in the southern seas.
See, that's where I belong. That's home.
Hello and welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today you are in for such a treat. We have got a 3-part series for you. This is the first one, and then you've got another 2 after this, where we are going to bring you members, real life members of our community group to chat to you through a recording on this podcast. So yeah,
this is going to lift the lid on our community for you. Just have a little sneaky peek underneath, because this is the sort of thing that goes on weekly, monthly, daily, all those sort of things. And this is a common subject that seemed to just come up quite regularly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's mainly about over the fears and the certainties of moving, isn't it?
Go on, Brian. Go on, Brian. Spill the beans, Brian. Go on.
I'm not. I didn't let too much. I didn't say the word percentage one bit.
No, you didn't. So this podcast is all about, I'm going to tell you about the community in a minute, but first of all, if you've just tuned in, this podcast is all about the percentage that the certainty that you feel about moving to New Zealand, whether that be 100% or 20%. And the reason we are doing this podcast is because within our community, we have what is called a Slack group, where we all chat. How would you describe a Slack group?
A Slack group is it's very similar to a Facebook chat, isn't it?
Yeah,
where you just basically, we've got channels. So if you want to talk about Auckland, if you want to talk about immigration, if you want to talk about visas, if you want to talk about shipping and packing and houses to rent and cars and vehicles and all that sort of stuff, and what to bring to New Zealand.
I think we actually we can wear the crown, Brian, for having the most channels within a Slack group.
It's just unbelievable.
Because it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and we've even got one for movies. We've even got one for quotes and memes and stuff like that. So there's a bit of fun going on as well.
So within the Slack group, you get a chance to ask questions, to give, to chat, to be there for people, to build relationships with others who are moving to New Zealand. This is what this community is built upon. It is built upon helping one another to make that move to New Zealand. And that isn't just, how much does it cost to ship a container over? That is about what the core of it in my heart is about what we're about to talk to now. And that is the feelings, the fears, the excitement, the emotions,
the uncertainties,
everything that goes with moving to the other side of the world. This is a massive undertaking and one that you should not undererestimate this.
No,
do you know?
But this is what we talk about, this community, and it's this community. We've got people that obviously live in New Zealand, and they're still part of the community. They want to be part of it because it's such a great group of people.
Yes.
We have meetups and things like that. And this was the hardest thing. We've talked about it on other podcasts, but you don't realise the importance of having someone on the ground, or at least someone to talk to, when you get there.
Yeah.
Because it's huge. We didn't have a soul, did we? Your sister, she lived 800 and 900 kilometres away because we had to go where the work was. And so we were so far away, didn't we? And that's all we had. And it can be very hard. Yeah. And this
without a doubt. There's no doubt about that. It can be very hard. And we get messages every week from people within our community saying, without this group, I probably wouldn't have made it to New Zealand. Yeah. Without this group, I wouldn't be where I am now, feeling happy and secure and like I can message Nikki and say, can I meet you in Auckland? And you've got someone to go for a coffee with. Yeah. And that is why we want to share what we're about to share with you now, just so you can, if you're sitting there listening to this thinking, I'd love to move to New Zealand, but I don't know anyone else who wants to move to New Zealand. Every one of the people that you're about to listen to are in the same boat as you.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we're all human at the end of the day. So we all end up with the same fears. And 9 times out of 10, the same problems. Everyone's got 1 or 2 different problems or different things that they do. But this is what's so good about this community, that you'll always get an answer. Yeah. And if you don't, we'll put it out to someone who...
Or just ask you, Brian. You know the answer to everything.
That's it. Yeah, I know the answer to everything, yes.
You are the oracle.
That is me. I am the one.
So what
You can call me
happened,
Neo
to give
from
you
now
a
on.
little bit of background, what happened was I was on the phone to a friend. She wants to move to New Zealand, or she was thinking of moving to New Zealand. And she called me up and she just said, do you know what? I'm only like 25% sure that I want to come. And I said, 25%'s not much, you know, are you sure you're not 50? And she's like, no, I'm only 25%. And I thought, and I kind of said to her, well, maybe wait until you're 50% then, you know, maybe it's not quite the place for you if it's only 25%. Anyway, then I put the phone down and I thought, do you know what, Liz? Why did you give her that advice? There were days that when we were moving to New Zealand, when we were waiting for all our papers to come through, when we were selling our house, there were days when I was 3% sure that I wanted to move to New Zealand. Yeah. And our house was on the market. It was gone, like, you know. Yeah. And we were on our way. And I was still thinking, I'm not sure. So I put it out to the community. I told them that exact same story that I've just told you. I said, look, you know, I feel like I'm a bit of a hypocrite. Does anyone else feel like this? What are your thoughts? How sure or not sure are you? What's your percentage when it comes to moving to New Zealand? And the answers you're about to hear are from our gorgeous community members and their answer to that question.
And there's a real bit of diversity in these questions and stuff. We're going to do 3 on this podcast and 3 on the next and 3 on the one after that.
Yeah. So before we jump in, let's just tell you exactly how you can become part of this community. You have probably taken the free 5-day video guide. If you haven't, you need to. It's a video guide about moving to and living in New Zealand. Me and Brian made it. We poured our heart into these videos and we're giving them to you. They're absolutely free. It's a 5-day guide. You take those videos and at the end, on day 5, at the end of that guide, you will be offered the chance to become a member of our community.
Yeah,
it's as simple as
NZ
that.
Ahead community. I mean, and that's it. You become an NZ Slacker, and that's what you'll be known as. I mean, if you don't know what Slack is just an app. It's just a what do you call it? A group app, isn't it? Basically?
Yeah, chat, like a messaging, a chat app. It's quite good actually now, Brian, because you can do voice thing on it. So I don't have to, because it takes me ages to text people.
I know.
You know, and now we can just leave, we can talk in real time on voice.
That's easier for you then, isn't it?
Why?
Because you always talk.
Yeah, no. Just fill all the chats up. So if you are listening to this and you still haven't signed up for those free 5-day videos that are delivered to you every day for 5 days for absolutely zero, for free, then you need to go over to
www.nzahead.com/free. So www.nzahead.com/free.
Okay, so let's jump into the show. The first person you're going to hear is from Allison. Allison is a little bit different from everyone else because Allison has already lived in New Zealand. She went over there 12 years ago, met her husband, they got married, had their first child, lived in New Zealand for 5 years, and then for whatever reasons came to live back in Canada. And now she's itching to get back to New Zealand.
So should we hear from what Alison's got to say before we give too much away?
Okay, go for it, Alison.
All right, here we go, Allison.
Hey, this is Allison. I'm from Airdrie, Alberta, Canada. And in answer to your question on the NZ Ahead community post about what percentage we feel we are on moving to New Zealand, I would say my husband Gordon and I are 99 to 100% positive. I may be more than 99% because I'm leaving my parents behind here in Canada and the cost of purchasing a home is so much more in New Zealand. But we have the advantage of having lived there before, so we can really speak to comparing New Zealand to other places we've lived. In our opinion, there's really no comparison in lifestyle, scenery, and quality of life. And it may sound strange, but when in New Zealand, I feel like life moves a lot slower, like in slow motion. I'm relaxed and calm. I love being surrounded by nature, and I never felt pressure to be something or have something like I do in Canada. It's more about who you are and not what you have in New Zealand, which we really appreciate. We're seeing that consumerism and desire to keep up with the Joneses starting in our kids, and we really want to get away from that. So it's just an amazing place to be a kid. Although neither of us grew up in New Zealand, we know it's just the perfect place for our kiddos. And New Zealand really nurtures my soul, and I feel like myself there, and I'm really at peace when I'm living there. So I'm really excited to get back there. I mean, I felt anxious pretty much since the day we left New Zealand 8 years ago, and I never felt quite right being back in Canada. So I cannot wait to go back, and we're really, really looking forward to it.
Oh, didn't you just love that? Thank you so much, Allison. That was absolutely. Do you know what? I loved what she said, Bri, that really stood out to me. It's not what you have, it's who you are.
Yep.
I love that so much, and it's so true.
And this is one of the hardest things, and I think this is one of the reasons why we put this one first, is you've got a Canadian. Now, most people who live in the UK end up wanting to move to Canada or New Zealand or Australia. But to get a Canadian to turn around and go, there's no comparison. That's, to me, it's just unbelievable.
But do you know what stood out about what she said? It nurtures my soul.
Yeah.
Because in my eyes, it doesn't. You can have the wilderness and the sea, you know, but if it's not deep in there, you know, if you don't feel it inside, it doesn't matter, does it? Where you know you can have all those things, but it's still you've got to feel it inside to just.
Yeah, and that's the big that is the connection you get.
Hard thing to put your finger on that, and I think only if you've lived in New Zealand can you truly say that.
Yeah, and that's what the beauty of this is, that she has lived there before, and we don't know why she went back. Could it be for jobs or anything, like, you know? But it's about that connection, and like you say, until you're there, you don't know. Until your feet actually touch that ground and that sand and that water, you're like, yes, that's the connection that you get, isn't it? Like, you know.
The other thing I loved what Allison says is it's not what you have, it's who you are.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, the modern day world, without sounding like an old granny, is just, of course, it's people are, you know, wanting more and more or whatever. But it's just, in New Zealand, it doesn't feel like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people. I mean, that woman next door to us, she's always trying to impress us with her new car, isn't she?
Yeah, it was. If we bought something, and it would just be
one up.
And it would be, you know, and that's
keeping up with the decals.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, which was about people buying cars and things like this, and basically. Do you buy the car for yourself, or do you buy it for the neighbour's envy? So, you know, and when you think about it, I get that. They're going to think, oh, look at me, I'm doing all right. That's what we all do. It's in us, isn't it? Like, you know, and whoever's bought a car, you know, if that's a flash car, it's a little bit in there, isn't it? Like, you know, and because we're just human at the end of the day. That's what we are. So, yeah, and that's what you don't get in New Zealand, is that keeping up with the Joneses. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't know, it's my opinion, but yes, I do believe that.
Yeah. And before we just jump into the next one as well, I just want to share a little story with you. Sonny, my son, he's 21. He sent us a video the other day, and it was a video of him and his mates. Bearing in mind they're 21, and his mates range between 21 and 25 or whatever. And they'd gone to a younger, they're in a drama, a theatre show, and they'd gone to one of the cast members' house. And she was only young, wasn't she? She was about 13 or 14. And the girl was showing Sonny and his mates their pet rats.
Yeah, they had a rat room, he said, didn't they?
Yeah, and Sonny sent me a video, and they were just I don't want to use the word playing together, but they were just, what's the word, hanging out.
Well, that's exactly what they were doing.
Right? They were just playing, weren't they? They were just messing about in this room with being kids and just enjoying. And I just looked at it, and I just thought, my first initial reaction was, well, why is he hanging around? You know, why is he hanging around with 14-year-olds sort of thing? Because that's the thing that you kind of think.
Yeah, but that's because, and this is what I find with New Zealand, is like when you go to, because it's part of this, dance class and stuff, that they're in a drama and everything else, is the older students will mentor the younger ones. And that means going back to their houses just to, hey, look, you know, we're real people. We're not like, oh, you're down there. And that gives those younger kids confidence to do what they want to do.
Yeah. Talking about kids, we're going to move on now and hear from our lovely, lovely Katie B. Katie, if you're a long-time listener of the show, you will have heard Katie and David's interview with me and Brian when they very, very first moved over to New Zealand.
They were our first NZ slackers,
yeah,
weren't
they are. They're our founding members. So very, very special place in our heart. Katie and David are from California and they now live in Dunedin. And this is what Katie has to say about her percentage of moving to New Zealand.
Hi, this is Katie from Los Angeles, California, now living in New Zealand. In answer to your question on the New Zealand Ahead community post about what percentage we feel or what we felt before coming here, we oscillated probably 50% for sure. We're going to move here to 100% some days and then back down to 50. And that definitely happened when I looked at the housing here versus what we could get in California. But we're the type of people who make up our minds and stick with it, especially about big things like this. So made the decision and we just stuck with it. And while I do miss my old job terribly and family, just don't miss much else. And friends, of course. We are very happy and content here. And now we have a 0% chance of moving back. We're happy we made the move because here our kids, well, just one reason, our kids are learning respect, kindness, understanding of other cultures, which are celebrated at school, and how to treat their environment. All from society. Sure, I would have taught my children these ideals in the U.S., but not all of society felt the same way. So it made it difficult to really instill these values as much as we would have liked to. And here, the majority of society feels the same as we do. And sometimes our kids even correct us on stuff now. So yeah, we're really happy. And while we did oscillate, we are stuck and we love it.
Thank you so much, Katie. Oh, Brian, I loved what she said just about the whole child thing, the whole values, just teaching your kids those values right from an early age.
Well, do you know what? When you go back to when we were moving over here to New Zealand, 2009, Liz came over to see her sister and picked the phone up. Well, she called me. She didn't pick the phone up. She just called me and said, do you know what, Brian? We've got to move here. And it's like, and that's what I said, why? And two things she said, well, you won't know until you're here, but it's about the value, the values of the people. It's like going back to the 1960s or the 70s when you grow up, when it just felt that's what I don't know, those great values of, it's just
respect for each other,
isn't it? And just
respect for the earth, respect for your environment. Yeah. Just that whole thing that kids are taught. And going out and playing and falling off monkey bars. I mean, Katie's daughter last week fell off the monkey bars, broke her wrist, but that's what happens. That's a whole different story. Katie talks all about the health system, doesn't she?
And
so that's a really interesting topic.
That sparked a big topic on the channel, didn't it? Of what would have this cost in America? And the Americans would turn around and say probably $50,000 if you weren't insured to get that sorted. I just love just hearing that, because I think when you're moving to New Zealand as well, the 90% of if you've got children, 90% of your doubts and things like that are around your kids, aren't they? Like, are they going to be happy? Are they going to settle? Yeah. How is it going to be for them? And if your kids are happy and your family are happy, it makes it 10 times, million times easier, doesn't it? Yeah, and I just love... our kids did go to school for a short time in New Zealand, and Sunny used to say the difference between the British school and the New Zealand school was we're actually allowed to talk, and not only that, we can talk to the teacher, not keep quiet, get on with your work. Yeah, it was like stand up, say your part, and do your thing, and that's the confidence. And when Katie turns around and says, "Oh, they're actually correcting us now," it's just like, whoa, that's great, isn't it? Like, because you don't want cocky kids, but they're not being cocky. They just actually say, Mum, that's not quite right, because we just learned this today at school. Yeah. And those values that she said that they're being taught about, the land. Yeah. I know there's all the green environment and stuff that we're talking about, but it's not just about the green environment. It's about the connection with Earth, basically, this thing that we live on. It's so true, isn't it?
And the other thing, before just moving on, the other thing that I loved that Katie said was about making a decision and just sticking with it. Yeah. And we often say this, me and you, don't we? I think there's a statistic, and I'm not sure where it is. I should have looked it up. But the highest cause of stress is indecision. Yep. When you're like, what do you think? Yeah. What do you think? When you're going backwards and forwards, like Katie said, make the decision and stick with it. Yep. That's it.
That's it. And that's, I remember
Make
saying
your decision.
that before. It's just like, you make the decision, then go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's what I've always said as well. You can always go home.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't like it there, then go home. All right, it might cost you a lot of money, but go home if it's not right for you. But you will never know unless you try. And that's the thing. Stop talking about it and get on with it.
Yeah. Right, the last guest the last community member on our...
The last guest? Doesn't sound good, does it really?
No, the last person to talk on this podcast today is Emily. Emily is from Washington. She's got 2 boys, and this is what she has to say about moving to New Zealand.
Take it away, Emily.
Hi, my name's Emily, and I am from Vancouver, Washington in the U.S. And my answer was, I am 100% sure. I had my kids and almost immediately after started working on the applications I needed to get them out of the U.S. Things that I learn about New Zealand that are in the negative column don't deter me or give me second thoughts. They just make me think, oh well, we'll learn to manage. We own a house here and my husband has a stable job, but nothing in the world is worth raising my kids here. I wouldn't feel comfortable sending them to public school because of our school system, bullying, mass shootings, and I wouldn't feel comfortable with them just existing in the world here either. As I tell my husband, they were born into the safest, most privileged category they could be, presumably straight white males. But if they're anything other than straight or anything other than male, their lives will be in danger just by being who they are every time they go out into the world. I can't have them growing up in a country where our government and fellow humans have shown how little they care about others through COVID. I can't have them grow up in a country thinking women are less than they are because their government and so many people tell them so. All that to say, yes, it is expensive and a lot of work to get to New Zealand, but it is all worth it for my babies. 100% all in.
Thank you so much, Emily. Absolutely loved that comment. Do you know what, Brian? The thing that stuck out to me with that comment was everything, but it's a lot of work.
For sure,
and
it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is. And this is what we always say to people when they're questioning about what they're doing. And it's stressful and it's this and it's that. If it was easy, New Zealand would be overrun with people, and it isn't. The other thing I really loved what she said as well was not existing, but living. There's nothing worse, is there, when you're, and this is another topic that I'd love to talk about with the group, is just that limbo feeling, just that you don't want to be where you are, but you're not where you want to be yet. And it's that icky existing feeling. And some people feel like that the whole time with that, when they're not moving to New Zealand, they just feel like that the whole time, Brian. Yeah. Why do you want to live like that?
I know, because we've only got one crack at this life, haven't we? Yeah. And it's just, we talk about it or dream about it, then make the dream a reality. Stand up and think it's going to be uncomfortable at times. It really, really is. But that's what brings out the creativity in you. And, it's just that when you get there, the people that, literally we've had people arrive in the last week or so in New Zealand, haven't we? And you can just hear and see the relief that, my God, we did it.
It was worth it. All that hard work was worth it.
Yeah.
And good on you, because like I say, it's not easy. You want to surround yourself with like-minded people who can give you the strength when you're feeling down. And equally, when you're feeling strong, you can give that strength back. And that's why we built this community.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Emily, as well, is I know I wrote this on the Slack group, but for you listening to this podcast, as you know, me and Brian also do YouTube videos about living in New Zealand. And on one video we made, it was about a Kiwi moving back to New Zealand. He lived in the UK. His name is Tim. He lived in the UK for 14 years and he's now moving back to New Zealand. And all the comments came in on YouTube and people were saying different things. And this person from, I think she was maybe from Denmark, I want to say, or Norway or somewhere like that, said, I wouldn't move back to New Zealand if you paid me. She said, all that with COVID, being told what to do, blah, 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 what the government's done. And this man came back, right back at her.
Obviously not Tim, just
another person commenting on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it struck a chord with me when Emily was talking. This man came back on YouTube and he just said, well, do you know what the first thing he said was, Bri? Kia kaha.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, that is just it's so dignified and so graceful. And just answered with grace. But he just said, people like, he didn't say people like you don't want to, he said that New Zealand doesn't want people like you to be here.
Basically, yeah.
He said, because we don't want people who all they want to do is take. What can you give me? What can you give me? We want people who can give back. Yeah. You know, we want people who can share what they have and get along. Yeah.
It's New Zealand, you'll find it's not like living in a country. It's like living in a community of 5 million people tucked away on the other side of the world, down under, basically, you know, right, you know, next stop Antarctica type thing. And that's what people, you know, that's what the Kiwis want out of people who want to move there. It's like, you're going to be like us, aren't you? Yeah, it's a special thing. It's a special place. It really, really is.
So thank you to all three of you, Allison, Katie and Emily, for contributing to this week's show. Like I say, we're going to make at least another 2 of these episodes because I just think they are fabulous.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian, go on.
No, and I was just saying there's plenty of other stuff that you get monthly as well. You know, we just did a big live Zoom from around the world with all the people all over the... and we talked about, I mean, the subject of this month's Zoom call, which you can only get in from the NZ Slack group, or you'll get it in the NZ Ahead membership package of a monthly video. And to see the people and everyone interacting, we talked about US tax laws, what it's like to be a US citizen working in New Zealand, and IRD forms and things you had to fill out and this, that and the other. So yeah, it's just great. And just not only that, just to everyone get together and have a bit of a chat as well. Yeah,
this community is a very, very, very special place. It holds a special place in my heart. It's not just a place where you can go and fire questions and like bang, 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 tell me the answer and then I'm off again. It's about building relationships.
Friends.
Yes, and friends. That you can give back. So that comment that I just told you about the guy on YouTube, that is exactly what we're standing for. It's about giving back. Yeah. It's about helping one another.
Each other, yeah. You've gone through a problem, tell the people, help out, isn't it? Yeah. That's basically it. And it's just... it's about giving back, and that's and you can take what you want from the community, but you'll get more. You know, as long as you give a bit back as well. That's what really, really.
So, like I say, if you're wanting to if you're interested in joining that community, take the free 5-day video guide, and on the 5th day, you can be given the chance to sign up and join us. So we hope that this has been massively, massively helpful to you.
Yeah, and if you're in doubts, that's what this idea was about. You know, you're in doubt. Jump onto nzahead.com/free, sign up, just watch the video guides.
Yeah.
Even if you don't sign up for the membership, just watch the guides and it might change your mind and think, I'd love to go and live there.
And the next podcast you're going to listen to, you're going to hear from Warren, who's 50%. So, I mean,
50%,
and he's going to tell you his story. And like I say, there's lots of other stories coming up. So don't forget to look out for the next one in this series. But until next time, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, so kia kaha, which is stay strong, kia u, stay true, and that's true to yourself and everybody else around you, especially the country that you're going to be living in. See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. We have loved having you here with us.
If you loved this week's show, please share this with your friends. Send it to anybody you know that wants to think about moving to New Zealand, and get on over here yourself.
And tell them how brilliant it is as well. And also, if you haven't signed up for our free 5-day video guide showing you what life is like, really like, in New Zealand, then go over to the website and sign up. You are missing out. This is brilliant. Go over to www.nzahead.com/free and we will send you 5 days worth of videos about what life is like in New Zealand. You are going to love it. So one more time, that website that you need to sign up for the free 5-day guide is www.nzahead.com/free. So we're going to see you next week. Until then, have a great week and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye again. Bye.
Bye.